Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here on my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 episode review. This one's going to be for Season 3 Episode 4, I think it was, The Croaking. And yeah, I thought it was an okay episode, but I think a lot of that really depends on like where they go with all these frog characters. If they like what I believed this was towards the end of the episode when they didn't just turn out to be villains, that they kind of joined up friends with the turtles and April and Casey. What I was thinking was that this is going to be like the counter army to take back New York. That they'll have these frogs and some of the other mutants throughout this early parts of the season, and they'll kind of counterattack with that army to take back the city or something like that. Um, if that's what they're kind of doing in these early episodes, then maybe there's something to this season after all. But the way this episode ended, I'm just like, they are not doing what I think they're doing with this. They're not going to mutate a car. I think that's what they were going for, at least a car driving through the puddle of mutagen. They're not mutating a car, are they? Seriously? But I don't know. I don't know how they can do that in this show. Like, there are times when this show is absurd, and even this episode was a little bit, but that just is kind of pushing it too far, in my opinion. Mutating a car. I don't know. But yeah, the episode itself, it's a Mikey focused episode, and it just focuses on the fact that the turtles don't appreciate him, and they kind of blame him for messing up the house, which he did. And yes, there was a kind of small character arc there where he just came to realize that despite his brothers giving out to him, he realized that he was at fault for what he did, and he realizes that they're just kind of. It's hard to point out because it was such a tiny aspect of the episode. It was literally just two scenes. Like, they're angry at him, he runs away, and then in the trees with Napoleon, he says, "Oh, well," he talks about his brothers and it's like they're awesome, even when I'm not. And it was just he just kind of came to the realization that, oh, I can be a chore sometimes, and my brothers weren't really wrong in this situation. Um, and yeah, it was just a simple reunion. Like, there wasn't much character development. Nothing that I think is going to impact the episodes going forward. So there is that. But yeah, the frogs were interesting. I suppose there was loads of kind of undertones of like, these are the Gungans from Star Wars, in that they had Napoleon in the Jar Jar role where he's the idiot, and because of one friendship he makes with this guy who's actually skilled, Qui-Gon Jar Jar, um, he ends up being the the guy who brings together these two enemies and becomes a general at the end at the expense of someone else. Like, that's basically Star Wars, the Gungan plot from Star Wars Episode 1, which is a movie I actually really like. I just want to make that clear. I really like the prequels, and especially Episode 1. So I kind of like that was kind of a reference in this throughout this episode. Um, I don't know what they were going for with Napoleon Bonafrog. He was just a really weird character in that they didn't go completely Jar Jar on him. They just kind of went like kind of lazy, laid back kind of guy with him, and just kept it like that. That he thought he was amazing. He did these weird dances, and he just bonded with Michelangelo. It was a pretty cool friendship in the end, and that they kind of were fairly similar, although he was completely unskilled. Um, and then they kind of make up like, oh, you're the bravest guy. You show the most wisdom out of us all. It was just little bit like, okay, but he was fine as a character. Maybe it would be cool to see him again. But yeah, just overall the whole plot was just kind of weird. Like, they went for the whole environmental thing that the animals are farther than woods type thing. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that show, but humans are building all this stuff, destroying the forests. Soon they'll come to this woods and will have no home. And April Casey taught them that humans can be good when they save his life, and that's fine. You have some fights throughout the episode, which were, they really just kind of completely undersold any fight in this series kind of right now, just because they feel the need to have a fight in every single episode. They really just are not special to me anymore, and nothing with regards to the fights in these episodes really kind of I found that interesting. I find because they're overusing them, it really underpowers a lot of characters that they're losing so much and getting overpowered so often. I didn't like that basically Leonardo's injury seems fully healed right now. I've read interviews recently with some of the creators for the show, and they've made it out like this Leonardo healing plot is going to be this huge thing for his character. And if this is it done, it's been terrible. Like, there's been nothing. Yes, you could say maybe it was explored a little bit in the first episode, but even then, there was no real moment when he, like, came to any conclusion, developed from his injury or anything like that. It was just like, I don't think I might be able to heal. Oh, to save my brothers, I am kind of healing. And now he is healed. It just seems so weird, and still not getting used to the voice. That still remains a problem. So I'm wondering if that's even going to happen at this stage. Usually it takes I can usually get used to these type of things, but this is just, every time he speaks, it's just kind of like, oh, that's not right. But hopefully in time that will happen. But yeah, that was pretty much the whole episode. There's not a lot to talk about because it's not like a plot focused episode. I still maintain that I think the show is making a mistake with the tone it's taking, with the approach it's taking to this situation that they're in. As I've said before, the end of season 2 was awesome. It was plot focused, it was character focused. It set some stuff up going forward into season 3, and I think right now at this point they've done not a great job at really portraying what's happening very well. That they're almost, I think you wouldn't really be annoyed at too many people if they actually forgot what was happening in New York. That would be a thing. Like, the fact that they reference it so little, that they seem to be just getting on with life normally, that there's no reference to what's going on in New York. They're not referencing Splinter that much, or anything about New York really. I know Mikey mentioned in this episode, but there was no real, like, I wonder what's going on there. It was just, I'm going to New York. That's just coming across really weird in this first part of the season, that they should be, in my opinion, training as hard as they can, coming up with ideas for how to take back New York, but right now it's as if they've almost forgotten about it right now, and they've just settled into this kind of flow where the whole season so far has been monster in the woods, fights out over, turns out to be not a full villain in the end, one after the other. And just in general, I don't know what they're really going for, unless, as I said at the start, they're going for some idea where they just meet all these mutants in the first half of the season. When they finally decide to go back to New York, all these mutants kind of come because they realize the Turtles are friends. Something like that. Which would kind of work, but the build-up would have been so slow that it kind of like you're sacrificing half of the season to make the second half better. But yeah, I'm already at the point where I'm just kind of like, please leave the woods. Unless you're going to finally have that moment where you kind of address like what they're going to do next, please leave the woods, because it's just turning into another case of like some of the points in season 2 where it was just episodes for the sake of episodes, to create fights for the sake of fights, and no character development happening, no plot happening. I have hope, faith that the show will be good, because I really feel like that the finale of season 3 probably will be like awesome when they do return to New York, if that's when it happens, and there will be some good episodes. But right now, the start of this has been rocky, and that's being very polite in my opinion to this start of this season. It's been rocky, and just hasn't been on the same quality as what this show can be, and I hope it improves quickly. But yeah, in the comments let me know what your thoughts were on the episode. I just, this was alright, it wasn't as bad as some of the other episodes this book, but and it kind of gave me a little bit of hope, as I said, with the whole mutagen, maybe army, the mutant army. But like next episode, if it's going to be focused on some mutated car, I'm just like, show you've got some explaining to do. This episode sounds absurd right now, though honestly it could be insanely fun, just the idea of a mutated car. depending on what it does. But yeah, that's been the review. Tomorrow, hopefully, maybe I'll either be reviewing Sonic Boom Episode 1, depending on if I like it or not. Either way, I'll probably review it and decide, like, there and then if I'm going to continue the series. Or Bleach Season 1. I still have to prepare some notes on that. But yeah, that's been a review. Thanks for watching, and bye.